Welcome to the Rob Bro Show. I am Rob Bro. I'm the host. You are the co-host. You can co-host today by commenting on the Starting Line chat line. Starting Line chat line brought to you by Starting Line Counseling. StartingLineCounseling.com for all the information there. Live and in person and online. Lots of ways to get involved with Starting Line Counseling if you need it. All right. Lots of things happening today. Power ranking Wednesday. We could power rank the NFL teams in Texas. Stephon Diggs going to the Texans today in a trade.
Our favorite team.
Right now, it's the Texans and then the Dallas Cowboys. They are the two best teams in Texas. I don't know. I certainly over the last several years, the Cowboys have been better than the Texans. The Cowboys in the power rankings of the NFC probably higher still than the Texans in the AFC, just because of some of the teams at the top there. The AFC has been stronger than the NFC in the last several years. You could argue the Cowboys have been the second best team in the NFC. Last year, the Eagles obviously have been there over the last 3 years, with the 49ers the best team in the NFC. 49ers probably should have been back-to-back Super Bowl attendees if the Eagles didn't murder all of their quarterbacks in the NFC Championship 2 years ago. And then I guess you could say the Packers there at the end were better than the Cowboys because they beat them, but I don't know. Chiefs back to Dallas with a tax vote failing in Kansas City, some are saying. I think that has to do more with the Royals staying in Kansas City. And certainly no NBA team going to Kansas City with that vote failing.
Which is crazy with how nice that T-Mobile Arena is in Kansas City.
It's interesting. I will say this. If the Royals more attentive to their team than the A's have been in the last 5 years, the Royals actually look, with a pulse this year.
Yeah.
But the Oklahoma City Royals could happen in the next 5 years. I don't know. It doesn't seem like Kansas City is doing a whole lot to keep them. They've grown their soccer. They obviously have the Chiefs. It doesn't seem like they're putting as much into the Royals or that NBA team that Patrick Mahomes wants there. Maybe Mahomes can just pay for the Royals to stay. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a part owner of them now, so
we'll see what happens there.
Minority owner.
Let's see. I want to start, though, with the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Everyone else in the portal, it seems like today, Devin Cambridge, after alluding to staying earlier this week or late last week, and then absolutely saying he was going to stay like 5 months ago whenever he got hurt. Something happened in the last week. He has entered the transfer portal. Lamar Washington has entered the transfer portal. I don't think that's a surprise at all. DeMarion Williams has entered the transfer portal. That is not a surprise at all. But right now, I believe it is Darian Williams, Chance McMillan, Kerwin Walton,
and Emily Yalaho.
And then Jack Francis, who is non-scholarship.
Yeah, and Jazz, I can't remember what his last name is. Anyway, he's another walk-on.
Yes, Jazz Henderson Jr.
There you
go. It's
played at Oak Cliff Faith Family.
It's an interesting roster here so far. Devin Cambridge, a surprise.
He's not officially in the portal yet, is he? He's just rumored to be going into the portal.
I know DeMarion and Lamar today were confirmed.
Right, they're confirmed. I don't know that Devin's been confirmed. I think it was just a rumor going around, or a
sure
little birdie said something, and so now it's becoming a bigger deal, which I hope is not true.
So he could be in or out. I'll say this: even with Devin Cambridge coming back, you need a bunch of pieces still, and you need pieces like Devin Cambridge, who can play the 4, play the 5. You need pieces, a 7-footer still. You need a center. You need a couple of true 4 or 5 guys. So I don't think that really changes the chemistry of what you're trying to do in the portal. But you certainly need another one now if Devin
Yeah.
Cambridge is out.
You need another good couple guards,
But
that have been around and done it a little bit.
I don't
That'd
think
be nice
that
too.
Lamar leaving changes any of your top end plans. I think you were still trying to go get a bunch of starters.
Yeah, yeah.
So and maybe Chance McMillan and Kerwin Walton and Darian Williams are your 2, 3, 4, and you're going and looking for a 1 and a 5, and then a bunch of 6, 7, 8 guys that are going to be in the rotation. We'll see. We'll see what the plan is. Certainly, if you can out recruit Kerwin Walton and put him back on the bench
Would love that.
and have him be your sixth man that comes in and shoots off the catch, that spells success. I think Kerwin Walton took a big step forward this year with Grant McCaslin. Um, and then Chance McMillan, I think he can be a credible starter in the Big 12. But he again was a sixth man this year. So if that
Yeah,
role is the same and you bring in 4 new starters, that is what it is.
and what Kerwin Walton's got to do to earn a starting role next year, if you bring in some more guys, is learn how to play defense, learn how to block out a guy. The simple things that you get taught in junior high basketball. Kerwin Walton just does not do well. So, um, yeah, I mean, the guy can shoot, but he can't get himself open. He's going to have to get run off screens. It's one of those deals where you said it. If you can find a way to put Kerwin Walton back on the bench and make him a 6 or 7, number in your lineup, that's cool. I'm okay with that. But if Kerwin Walton's having to start for you next year, I don't know how much success you really are going to have over what you did this year.
I think that's a
It's
little
just,
unfair to Kerwin Walton. I think he
it's
improved.
not unfair. It just is true.
I think he improved his defense. He shot 50% from 3.
Yeah, but he can only shoot whenever he's open.
Sure. Yeah.
He can't create space. He can't create a shot.
Yeah.
So, and he also doesn't play defense. So the other team shot at about 80% when he defended.
His
And they
defense.
also 100% rebounded when a ball went up and he didn't block out a guy. Not a single time did I see Kerwin Walton put a rear end into somebody this year.
All right.
Not once.
I think he can still be a valuable piece. I do agree with your sentiment overall that he's probably a 6th man or 7th if you recruit.
7.
If you
I would
recruit
love for him to be a 7.
correctly. If you recruit correctly. And again, you need 8 scholarships to fill here.
Yep.
Well, I guess 9 now if Devin Cambridge is confirmed.
True.
So 9.
You have no high school recruit. You have no high school commitments.
No scholarship commitments. Yeah. Jazz Henderson is a PWO.
Yeah, which he could find himself a scholarship if he wants to, because
if you
they're out there.
If you get 7 guys out of the portal, it wouldn't surprise me if Jack Francis and Jazz Henderson were, hey, here's a scholarship, or we'll leave one scholarship open. With NIL now, I think you could probably get away with keeping a guy on the non-scholarship side and just say, hey, here's enough NIL to pay for your school.
Yeah.
You can either pay for school or get a loan and do whatever you want with that money. So,
yeah, I'd definitely pull out a loan.
Let's see. Yeah, but we're not good with money.
No, we're not.
Let's just say this. I did see a couple of guys committing today. So in the next 2 weeks, I think there's been one scheduled visit for Texas Tech. And I don't know that player, his name is DJ Burns from Youngstown State.
Not the DJ Burns you want.
DJ Burns. But he's still like trying to get a waiver to even come back for another year. So
go Penguins.
I do think that there will be some movement in the next 2 weeks. Somebody was asking if somebody was asking if when are you going to see the first commitments? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? It'll happen quickly once it starts happening. But again, you need 7 to 9 guys out of the portal. Alan says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned is the show for Tech basketball rebuilding the roster? This is an interesting question.
Yeah.
You're shaking your head like you're going to say a low number.
Mhm.
What would your number be?
I'd say a 4. I'm not concerned. He did it last year. He came in a lot later than where he is right now. What time of the year you were right now? So not a lot later. It was around this time he came in.
Right.
Officially, once North Texas' season was done in NIT. But yeah, I'm not that concerned. I
You
think we'll see.
brought 5 last offseason.
Yeah, and so and you brought the 5 that you kind of really needed to bring in. You brought, I think Darian Williams turned out to be one of the best transfer portal guys, if not the Big 12 in the country, maybe. As far as how well he performed on the floor, he had a record night, obviously against Kansas. He became your best player somewhere in the middle of Big 12 play, and took the slack up from Pop Isaacs and whenever he was struggling. Um, so I'm not too concerned. It just comes down to, if you're going to build teams in the transfer portal, finding the right guy like to fit positions is one thing, but finding the right guys to fit together and play as a team is another. Because look at what Mick Cronin did at UCLA. He did the exact same thing. Brought in 7 or 8 maybe transfer portal guys this year for UCLA. Very highly touted guys in the transfer portal. We're talking 4 stars and a couple 5 stars out of high school. And they played together this year, but they didn't play as a team
Yeah.
this year. They were all on the floor playing as a one-person show. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that's what you have to do if you're going to build a team in the transfer portal, is find guys that will fit and commit to the culture that you're trying to build and that you're trying to instill in the program. Like, you need guys that are going to commit to the program, not to playing basketball in the Big 12.
I'll say this. I trust Grant McCasland so far at Texas Tech, and in his career, he's a winner. He's done this for a long time.
And I trust Kellen Buffington.
At his different levels, he has proven he can do this. But just the nature of the transfer portal, everyone is trying to go get 5 or 6 players right now, it seems like. Especially in the Big 12, there's a lot of turnover with graduation and otherwise. So and the Big 12 is expanding again in this offseason with Arizona State, and the rest coming in. Colorado, Utah. So I'll say this, my worry level, quote unquote, would be a 7. Not because I don't think Grant McCasland can do it. I just think it's a really hard job to do, especially if you need 9 guys. Now, is that worry level like freaking out? No, it's just a worry based on the nature of the game. It's a hard thing to do, so I'm worried that it can be done. Not that it won't be done, but a 7 to me means this is going to be really difficult regardless of who your staff is. Do I trust Grant McCasland? Yes. Am I freaking out? No. Am I still worried you can put together a 9-person roster to complement Darian Williams as your star? Yeah. I mean, I think that's going to be a tough thing to do. Chef says, and that is SH, not CH, 2 Fs. This staff has proven they know how to get quality players out of the portal. Amazing how quick people freak out and think the sky is falling. Certainly, the Twitter world is freaking out. Grant seems to be ridding the roster of guys that he did not bring in. Cambridge being the one exception who has other issues going along with one good knee. There were some rumors that Devin Cambridge's rehab was not going well.
Right.
We talked about it on Monday with Pop Isaacs and Robert Jennings. The word processing, that you're probably processing guys. And I think that's a little bit harsh for a guy like Pop Isaacs, but the rest of them, Damarian Williams, he didn't play. He didn't go to the tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that guy got processed. Lamar Washington hardly played down the stretch. And if you don't want to call that processing, okay, but he certainly didn't improve in year 2, and that's the kind of guy that can go to a lower level or a different school that provides his game with a better role, and you can move on there. Like Lamar Washington is not a guy who can shoot. He needs to be a guy that's just going to play defense and drive. Um, a little bit like, I don't know, Malik Wilson a couple of years ago, who didn't shoot well here. He shot better at Houston.
Yeah.
In fact, Lamar Washington will probably go be the 8th guy off the bench at Houston. Not the 8th guy, the 3rd guy off the bench at Houston, and probably fit better than he did at Texas Tech this season. Because all
Yeah.
he has to do at Houston is play defense. Here,
True.
you have to score. I don't know. It just to me it seems like Lamar Washington doesn't fit what Graham McCaslin's trying to do. He needs to score. He needs to be able to shoot. In basketball, that seems like a good thing.
I'm just looking at
But yeah,
the transfer portal and
people on the roster.
and names in the transfer portal. And one of the name, like you're talking about centers, one of the names that sticks out is a kid named Cameron Corin, who's from Allen. Ended up going and playing his prep ball at Sunrise Academy and then going to Florida State. And now he's in the transfer portal. So he's a kid from Texas. He's a 6'9", 6'10" size kid. A lot of eligibility left. So I think that he might be a good one. And then look at Vladislav Golden. Remember that guy from 2020? Came to Texas Tech, didn't play a whole lot. Went to Florida Atlantic, was on that Final Four team a year ago. A big part of it too. A big part of what they did this year. He's still got a year left, maybe 2 years left of eligibility, and he's 7 foot. And bringing in a guy back like that, I think would be great. And obviously, he has nothing. He loved Texas Tech at the first time, right? He loved Lubbock. Now that the coaching staff is gone, would he love it again? I don't know. With Grant Mac's teams, but yeah, guys like that I think would fit well for Texas Tech. I think a kid that's from Texas that maybe wants to get back to play closer to home, maybe, who knows if that's what he wants. But yeah, I think there's quite a bit of opportunities just looking in this transfer portal of guys that you would love to go after. Of course, Elijah Fisher's back in the transfer portal. Obviously, things didn't work out well for him at where'd he go?
DePaul.
DePaul. Thank you. Yeah, they were terrible. 3-28 or something
I
this
don't
year.
think he's coming back.
No, he's not coming back. I just saw his name pop up. But yeah, I think there's quite a bit of options for you to go in the transfer portal and find some guys like Javian McCollum's in the transfer portal from Oklahoma. He's a good player. Not a stud at all, but he kind of reminds you of what Chance McMillan was in his first couple of years of college basketball. So I wouldn't be opposed to getting, especially guys that have played in the Big 12 too. Victor Lacken, the big guy from Cincinnati's in the transfer portal too. I want to fill it with guys that are smaller schools, yes, but also guys that have experience at the bigger levels in a Power 5 conference too. I think you have to have a happy medium there if you're going to build rosters at a Power 5 school out of the transfer portal.
And you're also looking at a mix of grad transfers, seniors,
right,
sophomores. If you'll get a couple of Darian Williamses out there that were freshmen of the year at a smaller conference, and they can come into the Big 12 as sophomores and play a couple of years here. I mean, that's the new high school recruiting. You let somebody else coach them. You let some of their nutrition program get them from freshman to sophomore, and then you go get them for 2 or 3 years as their second stop.
Well, I mean, look at Bryson Williams, right, at UTEP. He was a good player, and at UTEP, and led the Conference USA and all those things.
Well, he came as a senior. He started at Fresno State.
At Fresno State and then UTEP, right?
No.
Yeah. And he came and was one of the best players in the Big 12. And he was a senior grad transfer.
Yeah.
Um, and came through the portal, and you benefited greatly off of a guy who you didn't know if he was going to be able to really like be that guy in the Big 12, but he was. And
Yeah,
so I think
your three best transfers, Tariq Owens, Matt Mooney, Bryson Williams. I think
Bryson Williams
that's credible. You
and
need
Darian
those
Williams is
seniors.
probably up there in that conversation as well if he plays really well
Yeah,
next year.
you need those seniors, sure. But I think you also need to focus on you don't want 9 guys every year. And
Right.
that's not sustainable. It's just
No,
not.
you got to be able to bring in some young talent and grow it yourself. Um, I think that this is a Major League Baseball reference, but I think the New York Yankees kind of figured that out over the last few years where they used to just buy all their talent and not produce it from their minor league systems. And now they've kind of produced talent through their minor league systems and have bought in some guys. The Texas Rangers did the same thing in their system. That's why they won the World Series last year. Now they spent $1 billion in the offseason on some guys, but most of that money was spent on 2 guys. And so I think there's a happy medium you have to figure out between developing your own players from the high school ranks of recruiting, bring in 2 or 3 of those guys every year. And then the rest you fill with transfer portal guys. But again, you have to find the right fits. You got to find the right guys who will fit your system, who will fit who you are as a coach, who you are as a program, what you're trying to do. You can't just go get the best 9 transfer. If you went and got the best 9 transfer portal guys and they don't fit what you're trying to do and they don't buy into your culture and your system, then there's really no point in that because you're not going to be successful still. Right? Like it doesn't matter how good these guys are. If they don't play as a team, they don't play the way you want them to play, it's never going to work. So that's where you have trouble in the transfer portal. And especially if you're going to build a complete roster just off transfers. Now, Texas Tech does have some recruiting that they're doing at the high school level, obviously, and I think you'll see some of that this summer. And the class of 2025 will be better. I think you're just going to have to deal with it another year of full transfer portal guys.
Yeah. All right. What else is happening in the world of sports? We can certainly talk some spring football. I think we'll save that to later in the week once we get another practice in. I want to talk about this offensive line. I want to
Yeah.
talk about some other things going on. I think you finally started to hear some names that are excelling. And of course, you got to take that with a grain of salt. But we'll have more spring football for you later in the week. I do want to talk about the Texas Rangers. Josh Jung, yesterday, news coming out that 6 weeks looked like a great timetable for him to return. That was what Bruce Bochy said after the x-ray. Well, he had surgery either last night or this morning, and Chris Young is now saying, the GM of the team, that the early prognostications were incorrect because once the surgeon went in, there was more extensive damage than what showed on the x-ray, and it is more likely to be 8 to 10 weeks rather than 6 weeks, which means the middle of June now for a return, which, obviously is not good for Josh Young, especially having a hand wrist injury back-to-back seasons now. A couple of freak injuries, in my opinion, swinging at an inside pitch, though he does that a lot, kind of broke his wrist this time. And then in the field, nasty hop or whatever it was hit his wrist or hand last year, glove hand. So he kind of had back-to-back weird injuries. I wouldn't call him injury prone to this point in his career, but you do have back-to-back seasons now with 6-week injuries, 6 to 8 week injuries.
Really, it's 3 seasons. His last year in the minor leagues, he had a 6-week injury as well, and an oblique, I think, or hamate, something like that.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, what? Yeah, forgot about that. Maybe a shoulder.
Yeah, something.
Whatever it was. So yeah, I mean, tough news for the Rangers. They have brought up Justin Foscue. I think obviously Ezekiel Duran will play some third base. Offensively, I think you're fine still. This lineup is really good. I think you can survive Josh Jung being out, but he started so good. 2 home runs and was hitting the ball for contact and taking walks and not swinging at the low and
Hitting
away,
above 400. Yeah.
not swinging at the low and away like he was last year. Looked like he had really solid plate approach. And now you're going to have to wait for 2 months for him to come back. How does this affect the Rangers' power rankings? I think we had him at 4th or 5th before the season.
Yeah.
The Astros have started off poorly. I wouldn't put the Astros past the Rangers at this point. That bullpen, you have some worries of the bullpen in Texas for the Rangers, but you have even more worries, I think, right now with the bullpen in Houston. Even Josh Hader's blowing saves. He blew one last night. So, I mean, this is an opportunity for Texas to, maybe not lead coast to coast because I think the Mariners are also playing well. But, I mean, the Astros, I think, have taken a step back this year. We'll see what happens with this lineup. And obviously, they have room to get healthy as well, just like you do and your pitching staff. But I don't think anything's changed at the top. I think the Dodgers, I think the Braves, and I think the Yankees, which we thought before the season, are 3 of the best teams in baseball. How would you power rank the top 5 or 6?
Yeah, if it wasn't for Ronel Blanco just having the best night of his career and he'll never probably look that good again, the Astros might be over right now. Now their bats got hot. They scored 10 runs, so who knows if they would have lost that game or not. But yeah, the Astros are struggling out of the gate. A lot of that has to do with their bullpen. A lot of it has to do with their offensive woes, too. I mean, you look at their first few games and against the Yankees, they scored 1 run, 3 runs, 3 runs. The bullpen can't hold a tie or a lead, and they give it up late in games to the Yankees. Now, look, the Yankees are a good team. The Yankees are still undefeated. Actually, no, they're not. They lost last night. They're 5-1. But Detroit has started well. They're 4-0. That was your pick, I think, to win the Central was the Detroit Tigers, right?
So,
If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Man, if I had to power rank Major League Baseball right now, I think the Dodgers would be number 1 still, even though they're 6-2. They'll get healthy too. Then the Yankees. It's so hard to power rank now, but those 2 are at the top. Then the Rangers. Yeah. I mean, you have another couple undefeated teams, Pittsburgh and Milwaukee, but
I was about to say Pittsburgh.
That won't last.
Pittsburgh started 28 last year.
Yeah.
But this team, I don't know, feel a little different.
I don't think that'll last. Yeah, and then if I had to round out a top 5, it would be probably Atlanta. I still think Atlanta, even though they're at 3-2, Atlanta's really good. Yeah. And then probably Philadelphia, because Philadelphia's really good too. There's 2-3 coming out of the gates.
Dodgers, Braves, Yankees, Orioles. Orioles still up there.
You may have to add in the D-backs there too. The D-backs aren't playing bad coming out of the gate.
Zach Gallen is a stud.
Yeah. So is Corbin Carroll.
Yeah. And then
say that for our guy Roy.
Jackson Holiday in his first series against the Angels, 5 for 14, 2 doubles, a home run, and 5 RBI.
The dude needs to get him a helmet that fits, though.
That was in the first 3 games of AAA.
Yeah.
Not the Angels, sorry.
No, with the Norfolk Tides.
Yeah.
You know who the manager of the Norfolk Tides is, don't you?
I don't.
Lubbock Christian University Chaparral alum.
Really?
Buck Britton. At least he was last year.
Buck Britton.
I need to check that. See if he's still the manager of the Norfolk Tides.
That is a name right there.
Yeah.
All right. From Major League Baseball to college baseball, the Red Raiders beat Stanford. Go Buck Britton.
Yeah.
Beat Stanford 2 out of 2 this weekend. I was going to say 2 out of 3 in the midweek. Sorry. First game took him to extras after just giving away the lead. Just gave it away.
Yeah.
Defense, pitching, whatever it was. Just gave it away.
Doing what you've done all year long.
Throwing
Let's put it that way.
balls into the dugout, whatever it is.
As Tim Tadlock says, not throwing and catching at a high level.
Yeah. This team just can't play catch in the field.
No, they can't
almost-
play catch.
It almost
It
cost you.
blows my mind.
It almost cost you, on Monday night. And then Tuesday, 11-0 in the third.
Yeah.
Flash forward to the 7th. I think it's 11-7. And then I'm going to visit my granddad at Trust Point. I walk in the building, and then it's what, 15-11, and it's just like,
Yeah.
what in the world?
Yeah. And ends 15-12, right?
Yeah. So,
What are you doing?
and after the game, I said a win is a win, and somebody
Yeah.
commented, "Win is a win, a loss," and I said, maybe if you get a big injury or something, you'd look forward and say that's a loss, but you still won in the win column. And they mentioned the bullpen blowing up, but to me, I mean, you were pitching guys you're never going to pitch again this year. I mean, that was we have a pivotal series against Houston, Arkansas, and TCU in the next week and a half. I'm not overextending anybody to beat Stanford. That was what Tim Tadlock said. In my mind, on Tuesday. He speaks to my mind. He didn't say that out loud. But to me, that's what it was. I mean, Jeff Haxton was the next guy out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
I mean, it did not look like they were going to throw anybody that was going to be. They weren't going to throw Trenton Parrish again. They weren't going to throw, Josh Sanders. Lysick entered. But again, Lysick doesn't seem to be on his game at this point in the year. So it is not worrisome in the same way that a lot of your other problems have been worrisome in the bullpen, because I don't think you're going to throw those guys that threw in the middle innings and gave up all those runs much anymore. But it is worrisome that your defense behind that pitching, that is all starters, is still lackluster. You just can't play catch.
And it doesn't matter who you put at shortstop. Like, whoever you put at shortstop just can't play catch. Like, the play that Tracer Lopez gets on Monday night is just a routine candy hop double play ball, and then he yanks it into right field.
Yep.
Like, that can't happen, man. It just can't happen.
And this happens
especially in situations like that.
Yeah. You're up 2 in the late innings.
And the ground ball, and that ball is getting you out of the inning, right? There was one out. That's a ground ball double play to end the inning.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they score 2 runs off of it because you throw it into right field, and Owen Washburn's got to go all the way over and pick it up off the wall.
Yeah.
It's just bad baseball, man. And then they hit 3 doubles in a row. Court McDonald starts at a Pantego Panther from Arlington, goes to Stanford, and he's now the starting center fielder. I watched that kid play a lot in high school. 3-sport stud athlete at Pantego, but just there's no answers for those things. Now, thank goodness Kevin Bizzell is seeing the ball well again, and you find a way to get a leadoff guy on, and then Bizzell hits a 2-run home run and ties the game up and makes it 9-9, and then you go into extras and find a way to win. But my goodness,
back the last time you had such a problem at shortstop, you had this third baseman named Josh Jung.
Yeah. You just moved him over.
Can Cade McGee, who is a defensive wizard at third base, can he play shortstop? And Bizzell move back to third base and Maxey play catcher? I mean, is that an option at this point? And then Pompey, who leads the team in RBI, you just have to leave him at second base. You have to.
Yeah.
Because he's one of the best hitters on the team.
He's got to be in the lineup. Yeah.
So I wonder if you try something crazy at shortstop with Cade McGee and then Bizzell back there. Bizzell played third base. I wonder if they're, warming him up there. He played there on yesterday. Bizzell played at third. I think you want Stripling in the lineup. He played at first. You want Bizzell and Maxey in the lineup. You want Washburn in the lineup. You want Green in the lineup. You want Woodcocks in the lineup. You want Bravo in the lineup. I mean, if you want all those guys in the lineup, but you want good defense, McGee has to play, put McGee at shortstop.
Yeah, I'm not opposed. At this point, like just start throwing pasta at the wall and see what sticks, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's what you
That
have to
throws some
do at this
darts.
point because it is it's getting a little frustrating, and I'm sure obviously the coaching staff is frustrated. Um and obviously I think Matt Gardner's frustrated with his pitching staff. He can't go out there, like I said on Monday. Matt Gardner cannot go out there and make them like throw strikes, right? Like he can only do so much. There's only been a couple times where I haven't liked pitch sequences from Matt Gardner. Like that's the only thing I have to say about a pitching coach. But I didn't like pitch sequences from my pitching coach in college either. And then I got guys out. So you just have to execute pitches. Like it comes down to the dudes on the mound. You have guys that are good. Like they have good stuff. It's not that you have a bunch of guys who aren't good. You just have a bunch of guys who don't compete in the strike zone right now. And that's an issue because you walk 7 and you strike out 7 yesterday. A 1-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio is horrendously terrible. Still better than Stanford's. They walked 9 and struck out 6. So that's a negative strikeout to walk ratio. You don't want that. Texas Tech has hovered around that most of the year, though, where they're walking more than they're striking out. And if you ever do that, it's a recipe for disaster. You are going to lose games, especially if your defense is not as good behind you. And I don't know what the team fielding percentage is this year, but it's got to be one of the worst fielding percentages as a team that Texas Tech has had since Tim Tadlock has been here.
Well,
It has to be.
if you have a good defense, give me some psychology of the pitcher, Carson. If you have a good defense behind you, are you more confident to throw a ball in the zone down that you know your defense will, field and throw to first? And if that defense is not good behind you, do you feel like you have to push more to get a swing and a miss because you don't feel confident that the defense is going to execute what you need to do in the zone?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit to that. Now,
You push for a swing and miss more often, knowing like you have to get a strikeout because you don't trust
yeah,
the defense behind you to get the out.
yeah, which means that you're going to try and stretch the zone more, and then you're out of the zone and you're overthrowing, you're choking off breaking balls and hitting people in the back foot with the bases loaded and 2 outs in a tie game in the bottom of the ninth. Um, those are the things that you're doing because you don't trust your defense. Now, I was fortunate enough to play on a lot of teams that I trusted my defense completely. And really, I didn't have the kind of stuff because I threw the submarine style um, and sidearm. I didn't have the, overpowering, I'm going to blow this thing by you kind of stuff. I had I'm going to run it in on your hands. I want you to hit a ground ball to the third baseman, the shortstop. I want you to pop something up to the outfield. I'm going to throw a breaking ball and you're going to roll over it. Like that's what I had to do. So I had to trust my defense.
Right.
I never had the mentality of I'm throwing 95. I can just blow a dart by you and you're going to go sit back down and I'm going to spot this 95-mile-an-hour fastball up 2 balls outside and you're going to swing at it. But college hitters, and kudos to college hitters. And I think a lot of this has to do with these hitters at the high school level are seeing much, much more progressive pitching at the high school level now than has ever been seen. High school pitchers now are so much more progressed because of where we're at and pitching mechanics and pitching philosophy, everything else that these guys do in summers with their travel ball teams, especially at the higher echelon of travel ball, which is what you're seeing in the Big 12 teams. Like a lot of these dudes play baseball year round. They don't do a whole lot of anything else. And they're getting some top tier coaching like you can get at there's some division ones that don't have as nice facilities as some of these bigger high schools, especially in the state of Texas now. High school kids are becoming monsters. Like you're seeing high school sophomores, which we never used to see this, throwing 95, 96. And they're a sophomore or freshman in high school. And that's just, people can say that's good, that's bad, whatever. I don't care. That's really good for hitters to see that early in their careers. And then they get to college and guys throw 95. It's nothing. Like it's absolutely nothing for them. And so if you can't locate in the zone, like you have to be in the zone to be able to get the 2 balls outside fastball that's out of the zone in a 2 strike count. Because if you're not in the zone and then you throw that pitch in a 3-2 count and you've been nowhere near the zone and the dude's just swung at 2 strikes and fouled him off because you threw 2 right down the middle and he missed them,
Yeah.
like, you're not getting that pitch. And a lot of guys don't understand the art of pitching has gone out the window a little bit, whereas it's gone to, I want to throw as hard as I can. I want to throw as much spin rate as I can. There's not a whole lot of art to pitching anymore because guys throw so hard, they don't have to have that. And so I think that's a lot of where you're at right now in college baseball because you're seeing a lot of this. It's not just Texas Tech. Like Stanford has this issue too. And it's not like they don't have good dudes in their pen or their starting rotation. And we've seen it with TCU early. That's where they've struggled early in this conference. In conference plays, their guys just haven't been in the zone.
Yeah.
You've got to compete in the zone. You've got to execute pitches. And when you get the opportunity, just go out and make the most of it. Right? Like that's what you have to do. And yeah, it just seems right now that the Tech pitching staff, and like I said, it's not just the Tech pitching staff that's struggling. The defense behind them is struggling, so that does have a little bit of a hindrance on how you feel going out there, like just throwing strikes. Like if I throw a strike and I get a ground ball to shortstop, they're not getting outs for me. So I've got to get guys out by myself. And then you start, like I said, overthrowing, choking off breaking balls, not in the zone, not competing. And then it just is a trickle down effect and it never works.
Back foot breakers in an account you shouldn't be, and then hitting in the winning round.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Tech baseball again. We said it on Monday. You have to win a certain amount of these games coming up to be in the mix for the postseason. You won 2 of them. Now the next gambit up is Houston this weekend. Back at home before you go to Fort Worth, or Baum and Fort Worth in the next 2 series. So
yeah, you got a tough week coming up next week.
We'll talk about Houston when we get closer to it. But speaking of the postseason, Baseball America has put out another tournament outlook.
Yeah,
do you have that up, or do you want me to go through it there, Carson?
I got it. It. So as of right now, and we'll just start with the who everybody cares about. Texas Tech is part of the first 4 out. They're part of that group with Texas Tech, St. John's, Georgia Southern, and Arizona State are the first 4 out. The last 4 in: West Virginia, Campbell, Arizona, and Kansas. Kansas, for those of you that are listening, is in before Texas Tech. If that doesn't stick in your craw a little bit, I don't know what does. But as of right now, Oklahoma State is an 11 seed as a host in Stillwater, in their regional: Nebraska, LSU, Fresno State. And then the other Big 12 teams in, Kansas State is slated as a 2 seed in the Fayetteville regional. Arkansas is obviously the number 1 overall seed. They're really good. If you could go take 1 of 2 at Arkansas next week, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
That'd be big for your RPI and big for your opportunities coming in. And that's after you take at least 2 out of 3 against Houston, by the way. You can't drop 2 out of 3 to Houston and then go to Arkansas, win 1 of 2, and think that you did something. Like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
So you got Kansas State in Fayetteville. Let's see here. Kansas in the Tallahassee regional. Oklahoma in the Dallas Baptist regional. TCU in College Station. I would rather have Texas in College Station just because I like that. But TCU's cool because Schloss and company can play each other again. Texas is the 2 seed in the Corvallis regional. Love that for them because they won't beat Oregon State. Oklahoma State hosting, as I already said. UCF in the Gainesville, Florida regional. They've already beat Florida once this year, by the way. UCF has. Yep. And then West Virginia in the Charlottesville, Virginia regional. They're at University of Virginia. So
there are still a lot of Big 12 teams that I don't think will be in the tournament field right now.
Yeah, Kansas will not be, I don't think.
Well, I don't think you're going to get 5. Is that 5 teams?
That's
6.
6, yeah. 1.
I don't think you're going to get that many teams in the tournament. Game break while you're counting it up. The Texas Rangers have broken the 0-0 tie against the Tampa Bay Rays. The
It's
bottom of the
8 Big
sixth,
12 teams, by the way.
bottom of the sixth. Wow. Yeah, you're not.
Yeah, you're not getting 8.
In the
4
top
at
of
the
the sixth,
most.
Corey Seager hit his first home run of the year, a solo shot. Now in the bottom of the sixth with one out. Texas up 1-0.
Did you see
Eovaldi still.
this is a good caveat into our next power ranking to end it on a fun note about WWE, but did you see that people on Twitter were trying to say Adolis Garcia is on the roids? They posted a picture of him from last night.
Yeah.
Last year, what he looked like, and then last night he had swung and he's jumping up and his jersey's like coming up like this, making his chest look really big and his muscles look really big. And they're
His
like,
head turned.
look at the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at the difference. I'm like, the dude was yoked last year. I don't know what you were watching, but this dude's been yoked his whole career.
Well, they showed photos from St. Louis to now,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, he defected late from Cuba, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In his late 20s.
And then basically goes straight to the majors to St. Louis.
Yeah.
So now he's had 5-6 years of elite nutrition and working out.
Yeah. We're not just eating
Obviously,
rice and black beans anymore.
Obviously, he's going to get bigger.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And Josh Young, for what it's worth, Josh Young says Adolis he works out like 2 to 3 times a day in the off season, by the way.
They
Like
set a
in the weight room.
record. They set a record last year for steroid testing. They did the most steroid tests of all time last year, and they popped one Brewers pitcher, I think.
Yeah, funny that it was a pitcher, right? And
So
he
it's
wasn't.
It's not like Adolis isn't getting tested.
Yeah. No, everybody's getting tested at this point in Major League Baseball.
I mean, they are setting records for steroid testing.
And he could be on something that's legal that's helping.
Yeah.
There's plenty of supplements that are legal that help you gain muscle mass.
He's eating.
They don't. However, there's no steroid, there's no human growth hormone, there's no shot in the world you can take in the rear end that helps you hit a baseball.
It just turns those fly balls at the track into home runs.
You and I could go juice up and work out 3 times a day, and we could go out and try and hit big league pitching, and we're never going to hit one. We might get lucky and hit one bomb.
Yeah.
That's because the guy's throwing 97 and he's supplying the power, and you're just barely strong enough to get it out.
He's probably juiced
Right?
at Lepton Drinking Club, to be honest, but no more than last year or the year before. Yeah, he's been the last 3 seasons, his forearms have just looked bulging, massive.
Some guys are just built like that. I mean, some guys just have muscles because they work their rear end off.
Yeah.
I got muscles. They're just underneath a protection layer.
Same. All right. So let's go to our final power ranking of the day, WrestleMania this weekend.
Loved it.
I want you to power rank your all-time wrestlers. This is kind of like doing a Mount Rushmore, but we'll do 5. So give me your top 5 wrestlers of all time in honor of WrestleMania coming up this week.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Lupton says not a criticism with the juicing. If he's juiced, I hope he shares with the team. Yeah.
No. Yeah. I played at the very, very bottom depths of pro baseball, and there was a lot of things that were being taken in the locker room that opened my eyes quite a bit.
Not much testing there at that level.
Not much testing at the bottom tiers of minor league baseball. No, no, there's not.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody got tested, to be honest with you. I think even the umpires are partaking in most of the things, but yeah, it was an eye-opening experience. Let me put it that way. We had, this is just a story. We had one pitcher that he was juiced up. Dude was yoked out of his mind. Probably had like 0.01% body fat. Threw 99 miles an hour, but had no clue where that thing was going. I mean, he's Rick Ankiel'ing this thing to the backstop some nights in the air, like 15 feet over the batter's head. It was brutal. Dude was yoked though. And then you had a kid that would go out there, and I say kid, they're all older than me at this point, but a guy that would go out there and chief the car out and then come back in, drink 3 cups of coffee, go to the bullpen, get ready to pit for his start that night. So, yeah, not a whole lot of
Really?
testing going on.
You play with Kenny Powers?
He was from North Carolina.
There you go.
Put it that way. But yeah, one of my favorite people though. Cool dude. Very different. Man, if I had to go my top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time, Goldberg would be on there.
Goldberg.
Love Goldberg.
Classic.
Sting. Stone Cold Steve Austin's probably number 1, just because I think that's a lot of people's number 1.
Yeah.
I was always a Viva la Raza guy with Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. Those guys, I love those guys.
Eddie Guerrero.
So probably, yeah, Eddie Guerrero's in my top 5. And then number 5, we'll go. I love The Undertaker. The entrance is the best of all time, right? Like his entrance is the best entrance of all time. It doesn't get much better than the lights going dark. Kane's was good too.
Sure.
Kane and The Undertaker, their rivalry together, that might be my favorite rivalry of all time in wrestling history.
I'm the
best entrances.
I'm a bit of a Taker hater. I thought he was
Are you really?
Yeah, a little bit.
That's fair.
Let's see.
You a Mankind guy?
I did love Mick Foley for sure.
I did too.
I would
the sock on the hand.
Yeah,
great.
Mr. Sacco.
It's a great bit.
And that was like the 7th iteration of Mick Foley. I mean, he did that late in his career. And that's really when he was at his height. That's when he won his championships.
Yep. That was his most famous character for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had a couple more after the mask came off too, after Mankind was done.
Yeah. Well, that was before. Or during.
Yeah.
That was before the button up though. That's when he really got to the height of his power.
Yeah.
Like you had Dude Love, Cactus Jack. Cactus Jack was the original Mick Foley.
Yeah, Cactus Jack. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Solid. Mankind, obviously. All right, I would go. Ric Flair would be my number 1.
Fair enough. I never really liked Ric Flair. He was too flashy for me.
No, I loved it. I love the bad guy. Speaking of, Scott Hall is my number 2.
That's a good pick. That is a underrated guy right there too.
He sold the stunner better than anyone else.
Yes.
Stone Cold be 3 probably. The Rock is iconic. I don't know that I would have him in my top 3.
Yeah, see, I was never a big Rock guy. Like, he was always, people's elbow. We always did that at play, on the playground or at home. Me and my brother would get on my parents' king size bed and act like it was a wrestling ring. That was always a go-to. Triple H's Lion Tamer was always a go-to too. That always got the tap.
I would say Hollywood Hogan was my favorite in junior high. I love the NWO. Yeah. Obviously, Scott Hall and Hogan are 2 of the original members.
Yep.
Number 5, I might go Shawn Michaels here.
Ooh, yeah. There's so many names.
Triple H. I think Randy Orton is one of the most underrated of the last 20 years.
Talk about a dude that was jacked. Yeah. Still jacked, by the way. And Randy Orton was one of those guys, kind of like The Rock, who, like, his career has lasted for so long. Like, Randy Orton still comes around and does some things, kind of like John Cena, The Rock. They're kind of those nostalgic dudes. Stone Cold still is around doing things every now and then. Yeah.
I thought Scott Steiner was hilarious.
Steiner was funny, yeah.
Big pop.
You can't forget Booker T. Washington either. Booker T.
Yeah,
he was
not Washington.
Not Booker T. Washington. Yeah, just Booker T. He was one of my favorites growing up as well.
I rewatched some of the old WCW pay-per-views recently.
Mm-hmm.
And he is just coming in with his Harlem Heat Stevie Ray partner.
Yeah.
Just kind of growing before my eyes as he turns into Booker T that he is today. Yeah, they started out with the names Kane and Cole. And then switched back to Booker T and Stevie Ray. Power rank the tech players in the portal, Poncho Loco says. In the portal, well, if Devin Cambridge is in the portal, I would say he's number 1. Pop
Even
Isaacs
injured?
would be number 2. Pop Isaacs probably number 1. Pop Isaacs, Devin Cambridge, Robert Jennings, Lamar Washington, DeMarion. Probably be my 5 there. Who else?
I would say, yeah, Pop number 1. Lamar Washington might be number 2 because I think he's got more of opportunity to go somewhere else and play some
Yeah,
minutes.
2 years.
Pop's going to go somewhere and start. Like he'll be in the starting lineup most likely at
Yeah,
every place he
Pop's
goes.
number 1. I probably miss it.
And then depending on how the injury comes out, I hope, and because he's not in the transfer portal, I may not put Devin Cambridge up there. Not officially yet, he's not. And then, yeah, I don't know. Robert Jennings at 3, DeMarion Williams at 4, and then Cambridge would be 5 just because he's
Potentially injured.
technically not in there yet. But yeah, and then you go down the list. It's Drew Steffi, then Kyron Lindsey.
Yeah, I didn't even.
Kyron Lindsey's going to have to figure out how to be unselfish. He's way too selfish.
Yeah, he's gonna have to grow up, mature, be a professional. You know,
Yeah.
it's amateur, but you're making money. These college basketball players are professional basketball players now.
Well, and it's a full-time job. You're not in high school anymore. College coaches will hold your hand a little bit, like helping you with your meal planning and things of that nature still. Like not everything's on your own, but in college they want you to be a grown man. Like you're growing up to be a man. They want you to be more self-sufficient, to be more responsible for the things that you lack and be, honest with who you are. And Kyron Lindsey just isn't that person right now. He's just immature still. And he's going to have to learn that he's going to have to mature if he wants to have an opportunity to play a lot at this level. Like that's it.
Yep. All right, I think that is all I have. Oh, Stephon Diggs from the Bills to the Texans.
Love it.
Love
it.
I think I said that at the top, but
let's go Texans.
Interesting.
I've been waiting for this kind of thing to happen. Like D'Amico Ryans, I've been a Texans fan for a while because I always loved the Houston Oilers when I was a little kid. And that was like, when I was 6 years old, 7 years old when they moved, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I loved 11.
Yeah, we were 11.
12?
Yeah.
The 2000? 99?
When did they move to Tennessee? It's a good question. Because Warren Moon was my favorite player.
Well, but the Texans. Oh, is that what you meant when they moved from the Oilers?
Yeah,
the
Oilers to the Texans.
Probably 6. Yeah, that's probably.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about when the Texans.
No, when the Texans came, they drafted Derek Carr or David Carr in their first pick. Worst first pick ever.
I didn't remember. Yeah, Titans.
So anyway, yeah, and so I was a Titans fan for a while because the Oilers were my favorite team, and so I liked the Titans. And then the Texans come, and you're like, I like the Houston Texans, and even though they sucked for the first
they didn't win
many years,
games for like 10 years.
Yeah, they sucked. They were bad, but I always have enjoyed like following the Texans, and now D'Amico Ryans I think is the best fit for this franchise. Dave O'Brien did some good stuffs.
Yeah. Bill
at times. Bill O'Brien, not Davey O'Brien. He's the TCU guy. Yeah. Bill O'Brien. But I think D'Amico Ryans is a perfect fit for where Houston is as a franchise, what they want to do. They're good. Young core. I think D'Amico Ryans is a perfect guy for that young core. That they have. They obviously have one of the better young quarterbacks, if not the best young quarterback in the NFL right now.
Yeah, define young, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, younger than 25, I would say is young.
Like T-Law is probably still right there as a young guy. He's year 3.
Yeah.
Certainly of the past 2 classes, he's far and away.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
I would say you're young in the NFL. Your first 3 years in the NFL, you're young. I would say. But yeah, and then Stephon Diggs is just only going to help this back into this defense.
He's a wide receiver.
The wide receiver, yeah.
Yeah. Trayvon Diggs is
Trayvon is the safety. Yeah, I would love for Trayvon to come play with his brother. By the way, that'd be cool.
No, he's a
Stephon Diggs helps this wide receiving group tremendously.
Does he?
Hurts the back end of the defenses in their conference.
Does he though? I mean, fell off a little bit last year. There's a reason they're trading him. I think he's a little diva-ish. I think they just got a third back. I'd have to go back to the package.
Look at what Josh Allen was, a guy who loved his tight ends, a lot like what Dak Prescott loves in Dallas.
Do the Texans need another wide receiver?
Sure. I mean, it depends on what you're going to get back from what's the young man from Houston that got hurt last year that was having such a great year in his rookie year? Tank Dell, thank you. Yeah. It depends on what you're going to get back from him. What does Tank Dell look like? Because Kiki Kuti had a great year, and then he got hurt and injured pretty badly for the Texans, and he just wasn't the same when he came back. So hopefully Tank Dell can come back. Stephon Diggs is there. You got a bunch of speed, and with a quarterback that can extend life. I mean, we've seen how good Tyreek Hill can be with quarterbacks that extend life.
Nico Collins was the guy after Tank Dell went down. He had a huge year.
Yeah.
Noah Brown had a career year there at wide receiver.
And then obviously you have a pretty solid tight end.
Robert Woods. Yeah, you re-signed Dalton Schultz.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. They also have Xavier Hutchinson from Iowa State. I didn't remember that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I believe that's where isn't that Iowa State.
No. But yeah, I think signing Stephon Diggs is good for the Texans. We'll see. I don't know that D'Amico Ryans will put up with his diva stuff though. Like, he might nip that in the bud real quick.
Well, maybe he just wanted out of Buffalo, and Houston is a warmer climate. Maybe that's what I want.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, he's playing at a dome stadium now. He's got to be happier, right? Like, you're not playing in sub-zero temperatures, not getting the ball.
Yeah.
So.
Is what it is. All right. That's all from us. Go Texans. Go Rangers. 1-0 heading to the top of the 8th. Evaldi is dealing. We'll see what the bullpen does.
Would love to get a couple insurance runs right here.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go watch the 8th and the 9th. Maybe at a hot dog or something. And we'll see you Friday.
Yeah. Peace.